in effect saying the billion plus, 1.6 maybe billion Muslims around the world, they've got work to do as well.
And the president does this knowing that the domestic American audience is not really, generally speaking, hearing the message he's talking about. The domestic American audience perhaps is more interested in hearing what is he going to do about the ISIS threat in Syria,
Hi friends, Kalpun Piso here, again. Be cut. My brain is creating thoughts. See, radical extremists. Obama is finally seems like they start realizing that it's a total mass confusion with Islam and not calling it Islam. They call it extremism. They don't want to call it extremism, and religion. Well, the problem is, and nobody sees it, people start beginning to see it, is of course semantics. Religion is a neurological disorder like schizophrenia. It's created the brain, you dumb, ignorant idiots. So Islam is a religion. And Islam, they abide by the Quran, which is text written, a bunch of competing mythologies written in the 7th century or 8th century, that must be accepted as true and fact today in the 21st. That is religion. That is Islam. And Islam is composed of 73 sects. And believing in all this mythological things as true is a psychosis. And not all of them are peaceful. It's like a schizophrenia being peaceful. Radical schizophrenia. You see what I mean? So now there is Obama is in a mess here, in a situation that he doesn't know what to say because he doesn't want to offend the Muslims. He doesn't offend. Well, it's just like the Christian, the Christ psychotics. Obama should compare the moronic Christians, which are the responsible for all the crap. If he knew history really well like I do, he will realize that Christianity means follower of a Christos, which was an anointed savior with those Julius Caesar, in truth. And this happened where? 1700 years ago, or 2000 years ago, when the whole thing started, in the vast Roman Empire. We have many religions, psychosis. But at the time, they didn't know. It's like when a kid believes in a Donald Duck and a Tooth Fairy and all that, and he's 2 years old, and he accepts them as true. That's understandable, because he's only 2 years old. He doesn't acquire all the knowledge and information yet. But if he's an adult, he's 18 years old, and believes in a Tooth Fairy and all that, characters, all these mythologists, the fairy tales of his childhood to be reality, then he has a problem with his brain. That's exactly what happened with religion. These imbeciles, religious psychosis, imbeciles have been destroying science, cutting knowledge. The Greek knowledge was destroyed. All the knowledge in ancient knowledge was destroyed by these imbeciles, burning books. This is from 1700 years ago. This Obama should say. So religion itself, today, in this 21st century, is a form of theotardism. And we have to understand English. We have to understand language. There are 8,000 languages spoken on the planet. English is not only one perfect language that came created by a god or imaginary friend that came over and zap everybody, 400 years ago when the imbeciles arrived in the Mayflower. Poof! There is English, and everybody spoke English. And only one kind of English in the United States of America. One. No, it didn't happen. And this is the problem. This is the problem with Islam. Islam is they have to believe in all the crap. Read the Quran. Read the Quran. And tell me if anybody that believes that thing, all these mythologies to be reality, is sane. I mean, educated people. You read the Quran, pray 5 times a day to imaginary friends, and go to learn about what Christianity is. Read the Bible, a stupid Bible, in many of them, and tell me if a person has a really healthy brain, believing in all the crap of the Bible, and read the Bible from top to bottom, all of it, and then not pick and choose. Everything that it tells you, it's a mass confusion, it's a total nonsense, it's people under drugs. You want to write a Bible or a Quran or a religious text? Take a tropa belladonna, take amanita muscaria, take a tea of psychotropic drugs like the ancients did, and you will write a Bible. You'll see angels, and you see all demons, and you'll see all kind of demonic possession. So this is the problem. Religion is a mental illness, and it's difficult. But Obama should start cleaning up home, cleaning up United States of America. That's an example. Getting a convention, a constitutional convention, start changing the Constitution, revamp the whole thing, get all these people and start closing the churches, gather all the neurologists, the imbeciles that created the DSM-4, Diagnostic Statistic Manual of Neurological Disorder, written by Christian pieces of garbage, ignoramuses in our 1840s. That's what the whole DSM-4 started. Now it's DSM-5, created by lunatics, by imbeciles that trying to divide religious from schizophrenia. No, religion is one of the schizophrenia because it's full of garbage. It's full of IFOFIBA, imaginary, phenophore, irrational belief acceptance. We are in the 21st century, and the brain creates the mind. This is what the imbecile religious psychotics believe. They think that the brain is separate from the mind. I keep thinking that. No, the brain creates the mind. A neurological operation will prove me correct. To prove this is true. So this is the problem that you find yourself here in the United States of America. Start by closing all the churches. Define religious beliefs and religious faith as one of these schizophrenias, a neurological disorder, a very dangerous one. And these people should be put in mental institutions. All these priests and pastors and pieces of shit that are actually anti-science, and they're anti-reality, and of course anti-Obama, because the man is brilliant. That's what you should do. Otherwise, we're going downhill.
Well, properly, in a way that a Muslim scholar would, for example, be pleased with from any part of the world of Islam. I would describe the Islamic State as perhaps having the relationship to the rest of Islam that maybe the Branch Davidians might have to Christianity. The Branch Davidians were certainly a Christian sect. Were they an unpopular one? Absolutely. And it's the same thing with ISIS, the same traditions.
And Haroon, do you believe, as Graham has written, theology, that they
drawing from the same psychosis,
go to the end of days,
all religions,
the apocalypse, that they're going to be a part of the side of the apocalypse? Does that ring true to you?
Apocalypse.
It's a mixed ISIS leadership.
This guy's blind.
Whether they really believe what they're saying.
Look at his name.
The people who are around Abu Bakr
Haroon Mogul,
former Ba'ath Party officials.
The guy's an idiot.
You've got secular Ba'ath, you've got religious Ba'ath. I mean, the one consistent.
He brought up in probably Islam psychosis. You get it, guys.
Syria, or they're now.
He's infected with Islam psychosis. Doesn't understand.
Whatever it is, but I think for the
religion is a mental illness.
It's a narrative.
Simple as that.
Powerful that you're going to be a soldier in something. Yours as being the Messiah in Islam is really powerful. It's an incredibly powerful lure for people.
And it's not true. It's a psychosis. Like Winnie the Pooh is going to come up and save us all.
How do you counter something like this? We've heard it's coming, and they're going to be a part of the end of the world on the good side, on the winning side. How do you counter something like that?
Let's separate out the leadership and what was referred to a moment ago as the foot soldiers, because of
how do you counter it? Very simple.
Different people in terms of how they believe.
Operate their brains. Very simple. They can put them in mental institutions, operate their brains and let them loose. Give them a lobotomy. It will cure them all.
Based on when we at the CIA to interrogate Al-Qaeda guys, and once they go down that path of indoctrination over the course of years,
of course they're true believers.
You can't turn them back. They are never going to go home again.
They're psychotic.
In that case, operation at the upper.
It's like a schizophrenics. It's the same thing. You cannot remove, unless you give them chemicals, operate the brain, you cannot remove the beliefs with education or none, because the brain are defective. It's like a computer with a virus.
Senseless killing.
You have to really go in there and remove the virus to be able to fix everything.
You can bring back to some sort of political process. They're signed up because they get a pay.
Not political. This is crap of bullshit. It's a brain operation. That's what you do.
Muslim traditions is simply factually inaccurate.
You write that the Islamic State is very Islamic. You use words that are not typically ascribed to ISIS interpretation of Islam.
Yes.
And
defend that.
It's a learned interpretation of Islam that is rejected by most Muslim scholars. But we're looking at these hadith, these sayings of the Prophet.
Exactly.
And are finding ways to use them.
Exactly.
People who are illiterate. There are people who are looking into these books.
Exactly.
Trying to come up with justifications.
What I'm taking
Just like the Bible or any religious text, they have their own scholars. They interpret everything, and they're all religious psychotics.
They are espousing.
Yes, and that includes the mutilation of bodies, burning alive. This is something that historically in Islam has been rejected. They go point by point, and they find the examples. They find the examples in the texts and in Islamic history.
After I show everyone what the president said
Exactly.
on this subject.
Exactly. Psychotic.
The enslavement and rape of women,
Why? Religion. Psychosis.
threatening religious minorities with genocide, beheading hostages. ISIL-linked terrorists murdered Egyptians in the Sinai Peninsula, slaughter of Egyptian Christians.
Now, see, he's talking about all this slaughter. He should learn history. Go back. Talk about the Crusades. Talk about the Crusades. The Jews and infidels and all that were, for 250, they were considered infidels. They should be killed. Richard the Lionhearted, a piece of shit English king, was the one that created the Star of David, that yellow star, to define the Jews. He burned Jews, and this is historical fact from the 1100s. And he used to burn Jews alive in synagogues. This is what they did. Pope Urban II, the first crusade, that piece of garbage, invaded, sent all these Christian imbeciles, crusaders, with a big cross over here. They say, Deus vult, God wills it. From 1090 to 1250s, around there. Over 250 years of crusade, of Christian crap. Invading the Middle East, Jerusalem and all these cities, burning people, catapulting heads. Why don't Obama mention that? See, it is religious psychosis. So Islam is no different. Islam is the same crap, the same crazy people. The disease is the disease of the brain that lays dormant. That's the reason I call it the HIV of the brain. Because when you get all that garbage in church or synagogue or mosque, you're not going to start cutting people's head or doing that, but you start believing all the fairy tales in there. And if you believe in the fairy tales, all of a sudden, you start feeling kind of, oh, well, these people is an infidel and all that, so let's kill them. And this happened in Nazi Germany, the same thing. They were devoted Christian Nazis. See, and the Nazis are Christians, like the KKK Christians. And they look into American history, the KKK, racist pieces of garbage. Christians. Look at when the European Irish Christians, Catholics came around. The KKK, the Protestant imbeciles, they start going against them. Against the blacks. They burn blacks in the South. They lynch them. They hang them. And they were Christians, not Islam psychotics. So let's clean home first. Obama should clean the United States first. They fumigated from the crap of churches that infect the brain of children. Synagogues, the mohels cutting the baby's penises, sucking its blood, committing fellatio. That is fellatio, imbeciles. And it's okay. And it's sane. No, anybody that goes and cuts a baby's penis on circumcision crap and sucks his blood because it's a religious thing, it's a psychotic piece of shit. And it's only in Judaism, imbeciles. And Judaism, like Islam, like Christianity, and the rest of the psychopathies, have many sects. Not only one, many. So get educated. The brain is the creator of thought. And sick brains can only create sick thinking and eye for fever. Imaginary friend of all irrational belief. Acceptance. Just like in schizophrenia, temporal epilepsy, depression, and all that. Religion is a mental illness, the worst cancer of the brain, and the United States is full of these imbeciles in churches. And one of them is the God-obsessed party, the GOP. He should crush it with facts, the GOP, these disgusting pieces of shit that are in control of Congress. They are the problem. And the Supreme Court too. Idiots. Put them in mental institutions, fix their brains up, and remove, a lobotomy will remove their Christianity and Islam psychosis from all these imbeciles. Guaranteed.
Congress is run by Christ psychosis infected imbeciles like these imbeciles, idiots here. This moron is a Christ psychotic idiot. This Supreme Court judge is the same thing. These are all the schizophrenic imbeciles that belong mental institutions. Thanks to Christianity, this is what happened. The KKK, racism, pedophilia. All the Americans are crusaders. All the armies are crusaders. This imbecile believing this resurrected zombie. This pastor is against Obama. And Christian Hitler got his area race ideas from Christianity infected America. And these are the facts.
Perverted the faith when they can point with specific reference to that portion of the faith that they are relying on.
Exactly.
Have looked at other parts of the faith. They could have found more tolerant traditions of it. The fact diverse, contradictory traditions.
Exactly.
So, and to say they are perverting it, I think, is really to make a kind of judgment that's far beyond the political judgments that the president can make.
Why does any of the truth?
Very well said, because Obama said that perverting the faith. It's like perverting schizophrenia. See, it's a mental illness. Religion is mental illness, no matter what name goes under.
Is quite dangerous. It would be like going to war with Nazi Germany without understanding what Nazism even is.
Reported texts of Islam is itself preposterous.
Exactly.
Yes. Professor Heichel's view is that they are quite good at looking back into the past. They are ahistorical, but look, they've found texts to justify what they say, and they've used the same kinds of reasoning that would be acceptable in other contexts, reasoning that's also acceptable, but they're looking in this tradition outside of it.
All religious psychotic texts.
Called your essay intelligent is Jesus. Because in the end of times prophecy that they believe they're fulfilling, they will be cornered in Jerusalem, their ranks will be reduced to just 5,000, and Jesus will come to their rescue.
Yes, they think that will happen fairly soon. A fairly short calendar. We're talking about years,
rest my case.
Millennia. They will expand over the globe, and then eventually, because of the forces of an anti-Messiah, be cornered in Jerusalem, and then Jesus will come back and lead them to victory.
Desperate for legitimacy. And all of us have a responsibility to
terrorists?
The notion.
They're religious psychotics.
Somehow represent Islam. Because that is a falsehood that embraces the terrorist.
It's not a falsehood.
At the same time, we must acknowledge that groups like Al-Qaeda and ISIL are...
See, it's not a falsehood. See, this is the problem. These terrorists are all... What kind of a book do they read, the terrorists? Winnie the Pooh? Or American history? Or science? No, they read the Quran. They kill themselves with suicide vest. Nobody saying kill themselves for their imaginary friends. They have to be religious people. Deeply religious. The Crusades used to do that too. You cannot kill yourself for your own imaginary friend unless you have a problem. And religious psychosis are like that. And Obama should know it. These people kill themselves, and the Christians used to do that in the 1700s. Study history. This is the problem. Those who ignore the past are condemned to repeat it. You have to learn the past to understand the present and predict the future. Learn the past, learn history, connect the dots. This is the problem. And I bet you Obama realizes that, but he doesn't know what to say, because otherwise the psycho GOP imbecile Christianity infected morons will be all over after him. Because I already believe that he's not Christian. I mean, that he's not American, that he's born in Kenya, and the rest of this shit. Because they get this garbage in church by reading the Bible, reading only one book. So religion is a mental illness, a psychopathy, a very dangerous one. And ISIL is simply a full-blown Islam psychosis. Like the Christians, the Jim Jones, the Crusades and all that is full-blown Christianity. It's a disease. It's a disease of the brain.
That fuels hatred and corrupts young minds and
yes.
us all.
And what that is? Religion!
We need to do more to help lift up.
Yes, cut off funding to churches. That's what you do. Churches are responsible. Mosque, synagogue that infect the brain of children. You see, he says it, but without people don't realize it. It's the big elephant, pink elephant in the room that sits on everybody and nobody sees it. Especially clueless, mentally healthy, atheists, scientists, and intellectuals. They do not see it. If you believe in imaginary friends, I for FIBA, imaginary friends for irrational belief, etc. If you believe in gas and crap like that, you are a theotard. In other words, you're psychotic. You have a problem with your brain. You're no different than a schizophrenic, a demented psychopath. That's what happens. Yeah, respects all the schizophrenics.
Groups like Al Qaeda and ISIL peddle the
temporal lobe
some of our
epilepsy.
countries are hostile to Muslims.
Islam psychotics.
Meanwhile, we've also
some countries are hostile to schizophrenics.
Recently in Europe, a rise
to temporal lobe epileptics, to people suffering from depression,
or in some cases, anti-Muslim sentiment,
anti-Muslim psychosis, anti-Christ psychosis. See?
When people spew hatred towards others,
hatred toward the mental illness of religious beliefs,
it feeds into terrorist narratives.
See? You don't see it.
Communities, different religions or sects, pull away from each other,
different,
and are able to isolate each.
People of different faith. It's like people of different neurological disorders. Like, let's have a dialogue between the temporal lobe epileptics, the one suffering from depression, the one suffering from autism, the one suffering from schizophrenia, some of the schizophrenias, and etc. Can you have a dialogue with very intellectual people that have those disorders? No. This is the problem. This is the elephant in the room that sits on these scientists that they do not see. Religion is a mental illness, psychosis. It's been going on infecting the planet, especially Christ psychosis, for 1,700 years. And that's the reason do not see it. You cannot take religion out of a mental illness. Because religion is one of them. It's one of the mental illnesses. It's one of the psychoses. And that's what the DSM-5 should say. And it's present in churches, mosques, and synagogues. He doesn't see it. And that's the problem.
Speak for Islam. That's absorbed.
They do.
Population. Not enough of the good. The more than one.
He doesn't understand that Islam is composed of 73 sects, not only one. And they had different ideas of how to treat their imaginary friend Muhammad and Prophet, just like the Christ-psychotic infected imbeciles. Catholics against many Catholics against the Protestant, the Adventists against the Mormons, and the Mormons against the Jehovah's Witnesses, and the other. They're all Christian psychotic imbeciles. The same thing happened in Islam, psychosis, and all religious psychosis. Because religion is a mental illness, and there is not only one sect of Islam psychosis, there are many. And this is what he does not see. Not everybody that go to church falling on their knees praying to imaginary friend is going to come over and cut heads. The same thing like Islam psychotic. Anybody that goes to a mosque and praying 5 times a day on a rug, talking to imaginary friends, is not going to go and cut heads and be violent. But some do. And those are full-blown Islam psychotics. It's like HIV/AIDS. Not everybody with HIV that is HIV positive is going to come up with a disease all of a sudden and become skinny and die. No, but they are HIV positive. until they come out full of come up with a full-blown AIDS. The same thing with the people of faith, psychotics. Not all of them come up and become psychopaths all of a sudden, but the ones that are but the problem is that they had the virus, they had the disease inside of them that will make them act very crazy. This is exactly what happened in all religious psychosis infected people, and this is what people should understand. The brain is the creator of thought, not the ass, and he should mention that. Brain! So tackle the neurologist, neuroscientist, and explain that and declare religious beliefs as a mental illness. And close all the churches down. Let's begin with that. Synagogues and mosques. All of them. And put them in mental institutions so brains can be fixed. Those imbeciles.
Crusaders were catapulting heads for over 250 years.
That terrorists exploit, including economic grievances. As I said yesterday, poverty alone does not cause it.
See, the grievances, what is it? Again, see, Obama doesn't realize. We create thinking with the brain. He has a brain. He has a brain. He wasn't born believing in anything. See? He wasn't born speaking English. He wasn't born with his degree of magna cum laude and all this because the man is brilliant. He wasn't born with that. So if you all of a sudden give him a little bit of drugs and tell him to speak, give him a little Naturas belladonna and sacraments and then tell him to speak. He might be seeing angels and demons and all that, but you're still floating around and talking to them. Because the brain is the creator. He is creating everything with his brain. And when the brain is sick, like when religious psychosis and fairy tales crap, like in this 21st century, when it's too tough believing that, you are sick. And people in churches, synagogues, they should
committed to hospitals.
Corrupt the brain of children, put in mental institutions, declare all the scientists, neurologists in the United States that are sane, atheists, should have a convention and define religion as one of these schizophrenias, a very dangerous disease that must be addressed. Then we'll have a chance for survival in this country. Pace Diorum.